The circumstances of this collision have a precedent of being settled on a 50-50 split liability basis. Obviously, each case will be decided on its own merits and some might be settled differently to the precedent. You guys have tagged me a ton of times in this one, so before we get into it, if you enjoy my liability reviews, do make sure to drop a follow. So Jim is approaching the roundabout in the right-hand lane. This allows him to enter in lane 2 essentially and continue in lane 2 around the roundabout and then exit the roundabout from lane 2 at what is his second exit. The car involved in the collision had already been on the roundabout. They had come from around the roundabout before Jim had entered and they remained in lane 1 on the outer edge of the roundabout. They continued around that outer edge as Jim went to exit and the collision occurred. I've spoken briefly with Jim and at the moment he believes the car driver has accepted liability and that their insurance company doesn't intend to dispute liability at all, which means the claim could be getting settled 100% in his favour. As I mentioned at the start of the video, there is a similar case which was heard at the Court of Appeal in 2003 and that was the case of Grace and Tanner, and it set a precedent for collisions of this nature on roundabouts where there are multiple lanes. In the judgment, the judge essentially ruled that if you're intending to exit from the inner part of the roundabout, you cannot assume that the vehicle that is on the outer edge of the roundabout is in the correct lane or going to exit alongside you to your left. This is something that is hammered into us when we're learning to drive. Essentially, you should be monitoring the speed and position of the other vehicle, and if you have any doubt about their intentions, then don't assume that it's safe to exit. If you're cautious about what a vehicle is doing, if you're able to, you could let off the throttle slightly and exit behind them if they do end up going straight on, or if that is not possible, simply continue around the roundabout so that you can come around again and exit without there being a collision. For me, this hammers home what I was taught every time I was on a roundabout with my driving instructor. Whenever we were on a multi-lane roundabout, he would always hammer home to me that if we were exiting from the inner part of the roundabout to do a left door mirror check and a left over the shoulder check, and if I could not be certain that the car to my left was going to exit with us, then we should go around the roundabout again. And this all links into Rule 187 of the Highway Code, which states in all cases to watch out for traffic which may be straddling lanes or positioned incorrectly. This can be prevalent in situations where the roundabout might be congested and vehicles have entered from an intermediate exit and may be correctly travelling around the outer edge of the roundabout because they've become established on the roundabout long before you caught up to them or reached the point in which you wanted to exit. Cyclists, horse riders and horse-drawn vehicles are also entitled to navigate any roundabout on the outer edge of a roundabout, and large and long vehicles may also need to go around straddling lanes or on the outer edge of the roundabout to get their vehicles around a roundabout safely. So it is always worth bearing in mind in this situation to keep an eye on the cars that are in the left lane before taking your exit, because if they dispute liability, it is likely that a situation like this could be settled on a 50-50 split liability basis. And no, before somebody says it, insurance will not settle 50-50 just to get premiums out of both drivers. Insurance premiums do not come close to the cost of a claim, so settling on a 50-50 basis is a lose-lose situation for the insurance company, and it would usually only be done on genuine stalemate basis where it's one person's word against the other and there's no evidence, or if it's a genuine split liability situation such as this. Lovely jubbly, sound as a pound.